Oyster reef balls provide a hard surface for oysters, mussels, tube worms, other sessile creatures to attach to. Altogether, with the outside and inside surfaces, there's about 5 square feet of surface area for these things to attach to, along with areas for fish to come in, crabs, other invertebrates, to use this habitat as structure. They slow down waves, wake, they help water settle out some of the suspended solids that are in them, and protect our shorelines from erosion. So to create a sand cast, you're going to use sand. Kind of like making a sand castle. Needs to be a little wet, not too wet, so that it will hold its form, and then you can use the template to kind of form the uniform shape of the oyster ball that you're going to be creating. All right, so to create concrete, you don't want it too soupy, you don't want it too thick. So you want it more of a consistency of something like sour cream. It will stick to the trowel, but it's not going to run off the trowel, and it's not going to be crumbly on the trowel. This will help spread onto your sand cast better. Using 1 part sand to 1 part concrete Portland cement, you want to pour a little water into a 5-gallon bucket, so when you start putting your content in there, it doesn't stick. All right, so this would be an example of the concrete being too thick and not pliable. This would be an example of concrete that is too soupy. You want it to stick to the trowel, but not stick to the trowel too well. This is about the consistency you want, where it will just slide right off the trowel, but not run off the trowel. All right, so when you start applying the concrete, you want to start by making a cap and a base. And so you'll just go along trying to create about a 1-inch thick layer of concrete on the cap and the base, and then you'll connect those two by pulling concrete up the form of the sand cast. Once you have your cap and your base, now don't concentrate too much on keeping that 1 inch. It's okay if you're a little bit bigger. You really don't want to be smaller. You can open your top a little bit by pulling back some of that concrete away, so that we'll have a 4-inch opening on the top. And then we'll start adding concrete to join the base and the cap. All right, so when applying concrete, you want to use just a little on the end of your trowel, and then just slap it onto the concrete. And then you can start to work it in and add more as you expand that cap to join the base. All right, and then you're gonna create a line of concrete from the base to the cap. Again, using the splatter method, you can just toss the cement up there and then kind of just work it in like icing on a cake. The hardest part of creating these oyster domes is applying concrete to the vertical walls. You may want to mix your concrete a little soupier, and you can just kind of take a trowel full and then throw it up there onto that concrete. Let it set up a little bit, and then try troweling it. An important tip is to make sure you clean your trowel. So use the edge of the bucket, clean that trowel off. You don't want any rocks or anything that might cause imperfections or pulling of your concrete. You don't want to go too thick too fast on the walls, because it will get heavy and it can cave in on you. So try to take it slow as you're going up the walls and creating that, and just add layers as you go to thicken it up. What I've done is just gone around and spread some of this soupy concrete over thin areas, leaving some of my spots for my openings, so that way I don't have to remove the concrete. Now I'm gonna let this set up for a few minutes so that it's a little bit tighter and not so soupy, and then I'll smooth it down, and we will have our final product and I'll clean up these holes so that they're a little bit larger. Try to keep a clean work area, so if you've got some splatters, you can even just pick those up and toss them onto the wall of the Oyster Dome so that you're not stepping on the concrete, spreading it around your schools, and keeps your cement or your sand nice and clean so that you can use that sand over and over and not have to worry about having little rock fragments all in your sand. It's important to clean all of your equipment soon after you're done using it. This will prevent the concrete from hardening and ruining the trowels or the buckets that you're using so that you can reuse them over and over again. So now that we've given it some time to harden, you want to start off with a nice clean tool, and you're going to use this just like a knife, kind of spreading butter, pulling that concrete up and smoothing it back out. And then we'll start making our openings and using some of that cement to build up around the opening. So your final product should have minimum 2 openings, 4 are probably better. You want at least about a 4-inch opening on the top to allow for plants and other things that we may plant inside of these oyster domes to grow out. But these openings will allow fish to swim in and out, also be used to carry them on and off of the boats onto Durney Key. Doesn't have to be smooth, actually rougher is better, but that's kind of what your holes and the Oyster Dome should look like after you're done. Your area is kind of cleaned up of any excess concrete. You can utilize that and put it back onto your Oyster Dome. You're going to want to let these oyster domes dry for about 24 hours. And about after a half an hour, you want to start removing some of the sand from these openings to allow for the sand to expand and contract as it cools and heats over that 24-hour period. Otherwise, you'll get some cracking, and this helps prevent that.